got to get back.
It's not over yet, Samurai.
I have nothing to fear.
The future is mine!
All things come to an end, even the future.
Oh, sorry, that was Skyrim. Okay, wrong franchise. Let's do some Samurai Jack walking music. Oh no, wait, there is no walking music for Samurai Jack because it's all quiet. It's atmospheric, it's cinematic. That's one of the many things I love about Samurai Jack. You know, I love Samurai Jack, the series. It's just, I love how cinematic it is. I just want to be in it, you know what I mean? I just want to go on the adventures of Samurai. I endure his struggles and just wield that sword of his and just experience it. If only if there was some way of experiencing Samurai Jack in an interactive way to help him get back to the past in some way. Well, luckily, in the CEX shop, I think I might have found just the game. And it's just as well I found this on the Nintendo GameCube. But first, if we're going to do some NA Samurai Jack gaming action, we gotta suit up first. Let's get started. But of course, we do the right ritual of opening up the box. Oh, look at that silhouette of the disc. That looks so cool with this silhouette. And of course, we do the ritual of reading the instruction manual. I mean, it's not that I suck at the game, it's just that I just want to prepare in advance and look at the cool pictures. Okay, let's get started. What was that? Who's there? Something smells like feet.
Yes. I am the master of stenchiness, the deliverer of dampness, the sole gun of sallowness, of food. Yes, it is I, the very person responsible for making mediocre products to do with the foolish samurai. You have chosen to play this mediocre game, and now you must pay the consequences. Yeah! Yeah! Now play!
Okay, blip blabbity bloop, we're booting up the game, all these fancy logos, Cartoon Network, there's Jackie Boy, and we're not going to have an intro on long ago in a distant land and how Jack got into the future from a Aku's magic? No? Nothing? Just the fancy title screen? Okay, well, let's just press start and get started. Oh. Oh my. God help us all, look at Jackie Boy over here. I mean, this was made around the same period as Wind Waker, another game that mastered cel-shaded graphics. Come on, you people, you've got no excuse with this. Other than your low budget, I suppose, so I'll forgive you in that part. So anyway, we begin the game. It looks like the show. Oh my goodness gracious!
Visual, glittery presentation of your protagonist.
It looks like some chef slapped him in the face with a shovel and then used his cheeks to cut some onions. So we're saved by this scary lizard with pink beehive eyes, and he informs us that his village is being attacked by minions of Aku. Aku! Alright, and let's get started. Oh look, a thing to interact with. I wonder what that says. Okay, that is a pretty cool attention to detail. Except it raises so many questions when you look into how these scrolls were put there in the first place. How did the samurai's father know that he was going to be teleported to the future. How did he know he was going to be called Jack? Yeah, Jack isn't his real name, by the way. That was a name bestowed upon him in the future timeline. Did Aku boast about how he sent Jack into the future? But even then, the samurai's father still doesn't know that he'd be called Jack. Also, you're supposed to be telling me that he put the scrolls in the exact right position? And you're supposed to be telling me that he knew the exact locations of where to locate each and every single scroll? How do you even know that your son wouldn't come into this area from a different angle and would read the scrolls the other way around? Maybe some future-telling people who were writing on behalf of Jack's father wrote them? Okay, call me crazy for overlooking what's essentially something that's going to help with the tutorial and to immerse you into the game. But I'm only focusing on the details of this mechanic because they were focusing too much on the details of this mechanic. And the presentation may not be the top quality so far, but I must say, I really love this pause music. It's got so much serene zen to it. Take a listen. Anyway, back to this game. This is basically a hack-and-slash platformer game. You progress through the level, you avoid obstacles by jumping over them and slashing and dashing your way through enemies. You gain access to sushi for health. You gain access to shrines that you can later purchase for power-ups, some armor which can protect you from certain enemy attacks, come across several villagers and cages whom you will need rescuing, and if you rescue them, they will reward you with different elements you can put onto your sword. I mean, why wouldn't Jack rescue the villagers? That's basically what he does. Kind soul that he is. Although if there is the one guarantee you'll get from this game, you will definitely be slashing and dashing your way through hordes and hordes of enemies and robots. From a gamer controller standpoint, this is very similar to the Super Smash Bros. Series. Well, at least in terms of the Nintendo GameCube version. I haven't played any of the other versions, like the PlayStation 2 version. But I personally think it's a really wise choice to have the A button be the attack button, similar to Super Smash Bros. As well. And seeing how you're going to be attacking throughout the majority of the game, and the big green A button is right there, easy to press within your little thumb there, I'd say that was a wise choice. You have other abilities, and you will unlock more of them as the game progresses. The shoulder buttons gain access to really cool abilities. The coolest abilities in the game, if you ask me. The right shoulder button gaining access to the Sakai mode, which essentially activates bullet time for Samurai Jack. Using this ability, however, drains your Zen meter, and you'll need to fill it up again by collecting Zen that you collected from defeated enemies. And don't get too carried away with this technique. You're definitely going to need it for the bigger enemies. Seriously, don't underestimate them, they pack quite a punch. The idea is to use Sakai mode, run around them, and slash and dash on the button behind them. Otherwise, you're going to have quite a hard time. The left shoulder button, gives you access to the deflect ability, an ability which can pretty much last for as long as you... The left trigger button helps you gain access to the deflect ability. The left trigger button lets you gain access to the guard stance, which also functions as a deflect ability which would make Genji blush.
This is pretty overpowered, as you can basically stand in the guard stance forever.
Also throughout the game, you'll gain access to a wide variety of shurikens from these little statues and some arrows. You gotta question how Aku delivers all this and some convenient armor and some sushi, but hey ho, I guess his co-workers need some of those treatments as well, am I right? So you basically beat a lot of enemies and solve some very basic puzzles to unlock access to the next room. And along the way you'll also have to rescue some villagers as well as collect these little shrines in order to gain access to new power-ups. I really like these power-up shrines in particular. It's a great reward for collecting all those little shrines. And it's quite an empowering experience to gain stronger attack powers, longer zen, bigger health, all to take down bigger foes. It's quite an empowering experience, and the best part is you can find these conveniently at every single hub area, and they keep getting more challenging to collect, enforcing you to collect more shrines. And the act of shrine collecting is of course a challenge, but I also find this quite tiresomely repetitive. You know those games where they drag out the parts where you collect the collectathons just for the sake of dragging the game out? That's what this game does. I'm going here and there and here and there on the level for no good reason other than just for the sake of collecting shrines, which is rather bothersome. I know I'm meant to be making progress, but hey ho, I'm here to fight enemies. I want to find out balance. But hey ho, this was made back when they would easily cash into other cartoons, so I'm not expecting this to be of professional terms, but they brought in some of the same cast and crew to make this game, so of course expectations were meant to be a little bit high. However, the game does make up for that with some rather excellent boss fights, I must admit. Not necessarily all of them, but some of them were definitely worth playing this game for. Like, the first ones kind of catch you off guard if you don't know what you're doing. And there's this one boss fight in the mines, which is like this big boulder titan monster. That one was quite tough. And near the end of the game, you get to fight off Mad Jack himself, and this was a really fun boss fight. It was very similar to Dark Link from Ocarina of Time. You know how he's copying your movements, and it's very, very tricky to attack him, so you have to shield him until you find an opening? That's pretty much what that fight was all about. And to be fair, this show still retains some of the same trademark humor that the show is known for. And no, I'm not just talking about running up logs for no reason. I was expecting collectibles. And also, I'm not counting this little enemy who dug through the metal for some reason. And I'm also not counting that part where I'm acting like a disco ball while pausing whilst being damaged. I'm talking about this part here. This part I'm talking to this forest spirit guardian. And the reveal of what it is actually quite hilarious. It's literally this deep-voiced, god-like squirrel. That is hilariously charming. Also, like any good fighting game, I like how this gets more challenging as it goes along. Yeah, I know, call this game challenging. It gets quite challenging if you're not on your guard, especially on harder difficulties. Take these little mantis robots that shoot bullets at you. What I liked best about these enemies is that they're actually very smart. Yes, you can laugh at the fact that the larger enemies can accidentally hit all the smaller enemies, but these mantis enemies have this tactic where they notice your guard stance, the one you'd often use to deflect bullets, and then they surprisingly fire an electric stun gun at you. That is surprisingly smart on their part. Although enemy encounters can be increasingly random at times, which can really catch you off guard, and not in the best way possible. Also, I may have put my sense of engagement a bit too through the roof, because there were some missions where I was a bit disappointed. Take this part, for example, where I teamed up with a mad scientist to destroy, get this, video game trading to set free some teenage slaves. So, eventually the factory is about to self-destruct, and I have to go before it self-destructs, except it never really self-destructs, which is kind of self-contradictory, but hey, at least I get to use the slow motion to dodge these really fast traps. And speaking of disappointments, the Scotsman, what have they done with you? You're one of the best blessed characters in the show, and you're reduced to one of the worst boss fights I've ever encountered.
Fight him and witness your culture of Scotland be ashamed before your eyes.
It ends as swiftly as it begins. Do I deserve to fight you, my bonny Scotsman? Not to mention, this is completely out of character for the Scotsman. I know he's boisterous and is competitive with Jack, but he's competitive in a friendly way. They already got past their rivalry. Look at my eyes. This is the eyes of disappointment. But if you thought that was bad, wait until you see this scene right here, just to display how bad the graphics are.
Jack, you have come to find your time portal. Here it is, Samurai.
I will defeat you with or without the portal.
Then you won't mind if I destroy it.
No!
Yes,
It looks like someone took a jobby on their early CGI project and then thrown it into the pile of tar! I mean, Aku, you need some sleep. Look at your eyes. Do I even need to say anything more? This model speaks for itself. This is it. Not only is this the pinnacle of what the game's been building up to, but it's the pinnacle of how bad and terrible the game's graphics are. I take back what I said about that lizard guy with the insect eyes. Go back to the insect guy with the lizard. I take back what I said. I take it back.
You want this time portal so that you can fight me in the past. I am too powerful for you now, Samurai!
Always triumph over power.
We will see about that. again. Now I will return to perpetuate my evil on the face of the earth. You, samurai, you will be defeated. What? Who was that? Samurai!
Thank you, old friend.
Don't mention it! No, I thought you could have used your dress as a parachute.
I will have to remember that.
So this game isn't exactly perfect, but I must say, Samurai Jack, the Shadow of Headshot. Wait, what? So overall, Samurai Jack, the Shadow of the Colossus. Oh man, I wish. So overall, Samurai Jack, the Shadow of a Coup is a pretty 50-50 game. It has its downs from being a rushed game to cash into the show, but it has its ups to appeal to people who are fans of the show. It can be really fun in some areas, but then fairly dull in some other areas. So the graphics are atrocious. Half the boss fights are a complete joke. And some gameplay features like collecting all the shrines can be a repetitive chore. But on the other hand, the gameplay can be quite cool. The music is quite true and similar to the show. The voice acting is more or less spot on from the show, just like in the show. The gameplay is really fun with all the deflecting and slow motion attacks and slashing and dashing. It's really great. And the other half of the boss fights are actually legitimately challenging. When this game wants to challenge you, it can challenge you. I have yet to play this game on hard mode as of recording this. But some other standard enemies can be really challenging, and sometimes more challenging than actual boss fights. They're very similar to some enemies that you'd encounter in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Especially Mad Jack, who is, in my opinion, the best boss fight in the entire game. Look at these drawings. There's also a Chronicles section where you can unlock different conceptual arts. There's also this Chronicles section that allows you to unlock certain bits of access to concept art for the game. I beat the game on normal difficulty and managed to see the backgrounds from Samurai Jack, and oh, mwah! I love those backgrounds. It also says here you can beat easy difficulty to unlock sketches and reveal original concept artworks for environments in the game. And if you beat hard difficulty, you are unlocked with seeing the models, both as concept and final forms. Yeah, the final forms really worked out, didn't it? They must have patted themselves on the back for the efforts they put into the final forms. And to add insult from the fact that this game is really rushed, this game is quite short, and you'd probably be able to beat it in about 2 hours or so. I consider this game... And to add insult to how rushed this game is, you'd probably be able to beat this game in about, 2 or 5 hours or so. It's a very short campaign, so this is probably a game that you'd play in the weekend. Yes, I'm getting to my verdict. So, essentially, if you don't like repetitive gameplay that only lasts for about a few hours, or if you don't like rushed games that only serve the purpose of cashing in to certain popular bits of media at the time, then you can just skip this game entirely. You're not really missing out on anything. But if you're a curious Samurai Jack fan like I am, and if you're into hack and slash platformer games, then I think this game should be right up your street.
You enjoy the game? Yes? But you just wasted your time.
on a mediocre game just to cash into the show. On a mediocre game which exists to cash into the show. You could have spent that time on something productive. But instead you chose to support the mediocre marketing. Ha! Huh? Well, if you love the show so much, then what's your verdict?
Oh, clean up your act, afoot. I give Samurai Jack the Shadow of a Coup an 8 out of 12. And I'll probably give it an 8.3 if you're a Samurai Jack fan like I am. Oh! My quest is it complete? Could this be the game that I've been searching for? I mean, it certainly got me immersed and gave me probably the closest thing to having a Samurai Jack adventure in a video game format, but perhaps there's more out there. Maybe a better experience. Or maybe, just maybe, some crazy fan might someday make the best Samurai Jack game. Okay, I've had enough of your ramblings, afoot. I'm gonna suck it to you! Alright, afoot, no pun intended, but I've had enough of your games! Ha-ha! Power of righteousness will defeat your mediocrity! So fast, afoot! The game's prepared me too well for that one. Oh!
Going somewhere, Scotsmire? You have nowhere to run in this weather. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
It's gross! Oh! That's the worst stench I've ever smelled! Why didn't I just put you in the wash? Wait, where'd he go? Seriously, where'd he go? Oh no, Afoot has gone afoot. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Alright! Show yourself! You knitted sweatshirt of Achilles' heel!
Smell me! Smell me! You will buy all the products. You will purchase the mediocrity. Oh no, don't do what I think you're going to do. Not the washing machine. Don't clench me. Please don't cleanse me in righteousness. Let me out and I will return.
My quest for Shadow of a Crew is over. But it wasn't quite the perfect Samurai Jack game I was looking for. I'm convinced if they took more time with it, it would have been something special. But you know what? There might be a light in this stuck situation after all. Maybe there is a good Samurai Jack themed game out there, and I've just overlooked it. Well, my quest continues to find that game.
I'm going extra